Hi, thanks so much for tuning in to Mom Boss Chronicles. My name is Jen.
This is Sue.
And this is Danielle.
We are three moms that work together in real estate and are good friends, and here to talk to you about fun topics, the good, the bad, the ugly of mom struggles, real estate, and other fun stuff. So make sure to subscribe to listen to more. Welcome back to the Mom Boss Chronicles. Today's episode is Grappling with Grief. So if you have recently gone through a time in your life where you're grieving, or you know someone who is, this is going to be a great episode to listen to. We are going to be interviewing our very own mom boss, Sue, today. Sue lost her husband unexpectedly 3 years ago, and she is brave enough to share her story.
Yep.
So we thank you for that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. It gives me chills to even, say those words, so I can only imagine what you're feeling.
For sure. And I hope by sharing, the story of what happened and, kind of everything thereafter can help, someone out there just know you're not alone and, there's support out there. And, that for me, I think was the biggest part, one of the bigger parts of helping to cope with the loss. So start with the story of, I was married, was only with my husband for 4 years. I mean, I knew him since I was much younger, but.
And how long were you guys dating before you even got married?
Like a year and a half.
Oh.
Yeah,
we knew each other, but
we knew each other for a long time. I actually told my mom. So my
I remember.
My husband, he was friends with my brother, and the first time I met him I was probably 8 or 9 years old, and I told him I was just enamored by him, and I told my mom that I was going to marry him.
Was
someday.
he 18?
Yeah, so he was 18. He's 10 years older than me. So
really?
he hated when I told that story. He's like, you make me sound like a pedophile. That's not like
I
that.
love that so much.
I love it, but there was something about him.
No, definitely. And we actually went out on a date when I was 23 and he was 33, and it just, the timing was not right. And the age difference from 23 to 33 was I was like, ew. It was everything I ever thought I wanted, but then I was like, oh, you're 33. You're so old,
So it wasn't the right time.
It was not the right time, but cut to literally 10 years later.
At 33 now.
We happened to just be in the same place.
Did he live in the same area as you?
No, so I was living in Jersey City, and he was living in Bradley Beach, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, at the time, and he was working down here.
Yeah.
But my brother's actually just retired, but he was a Bayonne fireman. He was in the parade, and so Mike was coming out. It was a bunch of people getting together for the parade,
St.
and
Patrick's
he happened
Day
to
parade?
be there. Yep.
So much fun.
St. Patrick's Day. So, long story short, we just ended up talking the whole day, and
connecting.
that was it, and the rest was kind of history. We were just together since then. So everything kind of moved fast, and then we were older, right? So I was 32, he was 42, and turning 33, 43, and so we moved pretty fast. Within a year and a half of being together, we ended up getting pregnant.
Aww.
We got engaged 2 weeks later, and then 2 weeks after that we got married, so everything moved really fast. And in hindsight, given that he passed away, the universe really works in mysterious ways, and kind of kept things rolling. So
and then you bought a house with him, which is how you met Danielle too. So
So all within 4 years, we got pregnant, we got married, we bought a house. We just really hit the ground running, So cut to, we're living in West Long Branch. We were both working in Manhattan at the time, and it was stressful, man. Both of us commuting into the city.
This is pre-COVID,
Yep, right before COVID. Both traveling into the city, and then COVID happened.
He was a chef.
He was a chef.
So he had long hours.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Even though he worked corporate, he was a corporate chef. I mean, he used to leave the house 4:30 in the morning and not come home until almost 7.
Wow.
Yeah. So there was a lot of stress going on for him, and in particular me, because then I'm default parent, but I had a very stressful career
also
too.
Yeah.
So
and you were commuting also, so you had long days. That's hard.
Crazy.
With a baby.
Yes, with a 1-year-old.
Yeah.
And living in a new town and acclimating and, trying to make new friends. So there was a lot going on. And then COVID started happening, and, we're both kind of freaking out about our jobs. I was an event planner at the time in Manhattan, and, we're trying to pivot and figure everything out, and how am I change? What does this mean for my career? Oh my God, if I get laid off, we just bought this.
Yeah, you owned the house, at that
8
point?
months, 8 months pretty much, 7 months, 8 months. And, same for him too. We both worked in Manhattan, and So we're wondering, like, what's going to happen? And, you know, but I will say, like, those first couple weeks of being home together, like, the three of us, it was just nice. It was, like, a nice change of pace.
Because you didn't have that.
Yeah,
right?
we weren't stressed out. We were, like,
Downtown.
actually enjoying each other and, you know, cooking and, you know, doing things around the house that we hadn't gotten to. So, you know, again, in hindsight, like, I'm so appreciative of that quality time that we got to spend together, you know, even though we were, like, both freaking out a little bit about what the future looked like everybody else, you know, and, like, what does this mean for life? And so,
but you made the best of it.
We were making the best of it, you know. So, like, just very random. I mean, he had a heart attack, and so you don't see that. No, not in most cases, you don't really see it coming. But it was like a random Sunday morning. It was actually Palm Sunday, April 5th, and for once, he was like, you sleep in today and I'll take the baby. And I was like, oh my God. Like, yes, thank you. And like, I actually slept till 8 o'clock that day and it was amazing. And like, it was a beautiful Sunday morning and I woke up and I go downstairs and, you know, they're, you know, eating breakfast. He had Sunday sauce going with meatballs and, you know, it was just like it was a good beautiful morning. Yes. It was a really nice morning. You know, I was like, all right, you know, I'm up, I'm down, and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, all right, I'm going to go out and get us coffee because we're both like Dunkin' Donuts, you know, coffee heads, like obsessed. So he goes to get coffee and then he comes back and he's just like not looking right, you know, and I was like, he just was kind of like lost color, you know, and he was sitting on the couch and I'm like, are you okay? What's going on? And he's like, I don't know, my chest is really tight, you know, I was like, okay, like, do you want me to call an ambulance? You know, what's going on? He's like, let me just sit here for a minute, you know, so he's sitting there and I'm just like hovering over him essentially, and I'm like, all right, like, are you sure? Do you want me to call an ambulance? No, I'm okay. I'm going to go upstairs and take a shower. So he goes upstairs to take a shower. You know, maybe 15, 20 minutes goes by and I'm downstairs with the baby and I'm, you know, just texting with friends because, like, we're trying to, like, let's, like, FaceTime with the kids later, you know, just business as usual.
Is this midday now?
It's, like, the morning time, like 10:30 in the morning, 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning. So I hear the shower go off and, like, a little, like, time goes by. And so I went upstairs to check on him. He's laying in bed watching TV and I was like, are you okay? Are you sure? You know, I'll call an ambulance. Like, what's going on? I'm okay. I ate some Tums and I'm just going to relax and watch TV. Okay, no problem. So go back downstairs and now my son's playroom's in the back of the house, but we just so happen to be playing in the living room where my bedroom is right above. I mean, we're probably playing maybe 10 minutes and I hear boom upstairs and like my heart sunk. It was like I just instinctively knew something's really wrong, you know, like, and so I ran upstairs. And he is just like face down in between our nightstand and our bed, and he was like purple. Like it was a really rough scene, you know, and non-responsive.
And you have a child.
Yeah, like the dog and baby. I don't even know what they were doing, but like I had to. And it's crazy in that moment of like adrenaline, like your strength is nuts. Like I like ripped him up. I'm like slapping him across, you know, I'm screaming his name.
To try to get him to like,
and he's not responsive, you know. So then I laid him down. Run downstairs, of course, like can't find my phone,
oh my gosh,
you know, because and I'm like running. I don't even know if I touched the ground, you know, like you're just like flying and
screaming at this point,
like I'm freaking out, you know, and I wasn't even paying attention to like the bait, like Michael, you know, and the dogs under my feet, and I'm just like it was like an outer body experience, you know. Yeah. So I get back upstairs and, you know, I'm on the phone with 911. I think my husband had a heart attack, you know, please send somebody, And so, like, I'm CPR certified, but let me just tell you, you don't fucking know how to do CPR when it's, like, your loved one.
Did they walk you through it?
Yeah, they were, like, walking me through it on the phone.
And did it feel like forever, the time
you
call 911?
It was
the time
like
somebody shows up?
Tick, you know, like it was just
somebody come now,
right, yeah, it was just crazy. And like in the time so I'm doing compressions and doing CPR and they're talking me through it, Michael had made his way upstairs, you know, because I left him downstairs essentially with the dog, and like the dog's now over on top of us, like what's going on?
Worried too, yep, I'm sure.
And like Michael, he was one at the time, so him and Mike would play this game where Mike would lay on the floor and Michael would pretend to like pick him up by the shirt, you know, and slam him back down, and so Michael thought that's what he was doing. They were playing, you know, so he was trying to pick him up by the shirt. And I mean, I have to give credit, like where I live, West Long Branch, police department, EMS, like they were there really quickly, even though it felt like an eternity. They were there very quickly, and once they got there, you know, they just were like, get downstairs, you know, and they worked on him. They were up there for a really long time. They were like working on him for about 45 minutes, but never in my mind did it I didn't think for 1 second, like, my husband, like, that he died or was going to die.
Like, he has attention and medical help now. We're going to fix this.
So, like, in the interim, while they're working on him, Michael, actually, it was, like, it was starting to get around his nap time. He fell asleep by himself on the couch, which, thank God, you know. So I'm sitting downstairs. There's cops, you know, there's like 5 or 6 cops in the house and EMS, and they're asking a million questions. And now it's COVID. It's weird. I'm like uneasy having people in my house. I'm texting called my brother, who's, you know, was Mike's friend. You know, he's like freaking out and was, you know, everyone was like slightly apprehensive about coming.
I know,
you know what I'm saying?
Person,
but like at the same time, I'm like, I need you here. You know, my brother's in the car, he's on his way. Same thing with my dad. You know, they were on their way, and I'm texting with my girlfriends, you know, oh my God, I think Mike had a heart attack, and, you know, I'm very frantic. And they worked on him for like 45 minutes. In my head, I'm thinking like, oh my God, we're going to have like medical bills. We're going to be in the hospital.
I know, how long will this take?
Yeah, like, you know, and we're going to be with COVID people. I'm not even going to be able to visit him. So that's where my mind was at. It was not like, oh my God, I'm going to be planning a funeral, you know, or like that. So like the EMT guy comes downstairs and he's just, you know, I'm so sorry. He's like,
words,
you know what, the word that like rung in my head was, any further efforts are futile. And I'm like, futile? Fuck you, futile. Like, this is like my husband. This is my kid's dad. Like, keep fucking going, you know?
Like, you can't tell me that.
Right. So, you know, I just was like, you're in shock. You know, it's like you're in shock. And I think my mouth, like my jaw's on the floor, and I have all these police officers in my house. Like, no, I had no family with me. It was just like strangers because no one had gotten there yet. My jaw is on the floor, and I think the first thing I came out of my mouth was my poor son, you know, like my son lost his dad. Like, that's fucked up.
I know.
And I think I said to him, this is not how I planned. It's not how I thought this day was going to go. I was just like in shock. And, you know, the first responder actually was a woman police officer at West Long Branch. And she was still there, and she came over to me and she hugged me, you know, like in that moment I needed that. And I'm appreciative of that. And like, if you hear this, you know, thank you.
And were they wearing masks or like,
no,
and she hugged you?
No one
right?
had
During
masks
COVID,
on.
She took a chance. Oh my God. Yeah.
Right. She took a chance, you know, so, you know, it was just really, it was, I definitely was like blackout that day, like,
I know,
for sure.
Like, they leave, and now what?
Then you have this whole new normal to do. Like, what you're like, what do I do now?
And you're stuck in a house with your dog and your baby.
It was
during
just
COVID.
crazy. So, I mean, like, eventually, my brother got there, but before anyone got there, he had passed, right? So then I'm calling them, like, oh my God, he's dead.
Like, are you
you know, like,
out?
where the fuck are you? Like, hurry up, you know, my brother, and like, that was his friend since he's like a kid too. It was like both of us. Like, it was just
he was
grieving too. I mean, he's out. He was crying too. You know, it was just a really awful,
intense day.
Yeah, very intense. You know, 2 of my best friends, Janine and Blair, I didn't ask them to come. They just showed up. You know, they came through the door and like took care of everything. You know, like in my head, I'm like, oh my God, I have to go upstairs and I have to start cleaning up all the medical stuff that they left behind. Like, my friend Janine's like, no, you will not. Like, you know, you're just blackout. Like, you're in a state of shock. Like, I don't, looking back on it, the lack of emotion, not like lack of emotion, but a lack of emotion that I had. Like, you would think I would be like, you know, inconsolable. I wasn't. Like, I was at some points, but like
in that moment,
I just was like floating.
You're probably
like,
still processing.
Adrenaline.
Like, it literally went from a perfect morning to your worst nightmare. Come to life.
Completely upside down.
So how do you process
You didn't.
that?
Yeah, you probably didn't even process it yet. You know.
I might not still.
Yeah, you're like, I still haven't. Actually. I mean, it's crazy.
And then during COVID, how do you even plan a funeral?
Yep. So we couldn't. I mean,
what happened?
That was the tough part. I mean, so aside from, you know, then talking to, like, I'm texting Mike's family and having to talk to then his family, like, oh my God, your brother's dead, or you're, you know, and I had to talk to his mom, and she was in an adult facility at the time. She was dealing with dementia and some other like issues. I had to call her and tell her what happened, and, you know, kind of walk her through it. I don't know if she fully understood, but like, that was just, you know, I was sad for myself, obviously. Like, I loved this man. I was building a life with this man, but like, my heart was just fucking breaking for everybody else too, because, you know, I had him for 4 years. You know, his family I've had him his whole life. You know, like his friends. You know, he most of his friends he's been friends with since he's in like grade school. You know, so it was just really, really tough to tell like his people.
Sure.
And I'm sure
know.
the people reaching out to you and like, did it come to a point where you didn't want to talk to anybody? Were you like,
Oh
please
no,
stop?
I pretty much didn't want to talk to anybody for a couple of days.
I can imagine. It's like,
yeah.
I can't return.
I like some people. I was like, hey, listen, like I appreciate you reaching out. I just can't right now. Like I had to shut down, you know. And my dad and girlfriend, you know, they stayed with me till the end of the night, and they were really pushing hard. Like, why don't you just come home with us? Like, don't be in this house by yourself. But like, I couldn't picture being anywhere else. I'm like, I want my son in his bed.
Yeah.
I want to be in my own bed. Like, I need to sit here and figure out what the fuck just happened.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you felt strongly about that.
I did. Like, I did not want to go anywhere. So they left, and I sat on the couch, and I'm like, I just like, what? Like, what the
like,
fuck?
You just left me.
What just happens? Like, are you fucking kidding me? And listen, to be honest with you, it's frustrating. You know, I've let go of the, you know, many feelings. Like I felt angry because the fact of the matter is, you know, heart disease ran in my husband's family, and he never really got checkups, and he was a smoker, and he didn't eat well, you know, and like these are conversations we hadn't had before, and so it was a little
but it's hard
frustrating.
He's an adult too.
Right.
So I know what you mean.
Right,
but
and
like,
we all think we have time, you know, like, so I look at things through both.
because he was working and he was healthy and, you know, he was active.
Yeah, it's not like he was like obese and, you know, or whatever, you know, you never would look at this man and be like,
right.
You know, he doesn't look like a healthy man, you know, but he didn't also take like the major steps that I would have liked to have him done, you know, but it's what it is, right? You can't sit and dwell on something like that and change. So, you know, it was just really tough. But that night, you know, I sat on the couch for a while, and I'm just like, oh my God, like, I can't fucking believe this. And then I finally make my way to bed, and, you know, I'm a huge proponent of signs, because I don't think that our loved ones, it's not final. They're not completely gone. They just change form. And he knew that, you know, and I laid in bed that night, and I'm like, you better fucking send me a sign tomorrow, you fuck, you know? Like, I'm like, I better get some sort of sign from you. And, you know, for him, cardinals were like a sign that his dad, like a visit from his dad, you know, so that's like, that was his thing to feel connected, you know, to his dad, who passed away from a heart attack also, you know, in his 60s. So that morning, I mean, I didn't sleep. I just basically laid in bed, like, you know, your brain doesn't shut. Yeah, like pretty much. And I finally got up in the morning. I walked downstairs, and right in the window was a cardinal, you know, so it was like, okay, well, you're here. And then like thereafter, I mean, the blatant and extraordinary signs that, like, I don't give a shit if anyone thinks I'm fucking crazy, but they were too blatant to ignore, you know, and I'm like, okay, well, he's around and he's here, and he fucking better be, because, you know, like, right, we have a kid, we have a baby, you know, and those were little nuggets that helped. Good. You know, helped a lot.
Like a little sense of peace.
Oh yeah, you know, something. It was something. You know, and work was crazy, right? Too. So like,
did you stop?
So can I just tell you guys that where I worked, do you want to know what their bereavement policy was for a loss of spouse? How many days they give you? How many? Take like a guess.
A week.
3 days.
No.
Oh my God.
Do you believe that?
I was thinking it better be like 28 days.
Yeah.
Like the whole month. Like
3 days.
What? That's not even enough time to plan a funeral.
Nope.
Right.
No.
Or have a funeral.
No.
That's insane.
So they gave 3 days.
You should be working.
I mean, I think, granted, the situation, people had an understanding. My colleagues, like, bless them, because I know a lot of them banded together and were willing to donate their PTO time for me to have.
Amazing. More time.
It got, like, denied, which is whatever.
But they tried to do that.
But they tried. You know, I got 2 extra days, you know, free, which is cool. Yeah, 2 extra days. So I had a week bereavement, and then I had to use my personal time for the following week.
Wow.
So, you know, like, it's just disgusting. Like, like that actually was like one of the, I mean, corporate was crazy, but like that, like, was kind of a linchpin for me, where I'm like,
you're done. Yeah.
You know, like, I can't even believe you would treat your people like that. But
and who has that written in a policy?
Right?
Like,
Isn't
who
that
decided
awful?
that 3 days would be
a sufficient amount of time? Like, what?
Yeah.
So
especially you had a baby.
Right. Yeah, baby. You know, trying and still in a situation where people are uneasy about coming over. So it wasn't like, you know, listen, my best friends, they showed up. My family, you know, the people that felt comfortable, they showed up, and I appreciated that. But, you know, I still had to plan a funeral, and it was awkward because no one could really be there. But, like,
was it like 5 people?
Yeah, I mean, we pushed it a little bit, because the you know, the funeral home where we had it in Bayonne, long-standing relationship with this place, and, you know, we figured it out. You know, because to at least have, like, the family, Mike was one of 5. And it was a big family, you know, and Mike had a shit ton of friends, you know, so we had to we managed it.
That's good.
But nonetheless, that broke my heart too, that he didn't get the honor and service that he deserved because he was such a well-liked guy, you know, like if it were another time that wasn't COVID, like I guarantee like a fucking line would have been down, you know what I'm saying? So that broke my heart for him because he should have had that honor, but you know, we made up for that with Drinks for Bonner a couple years later, but you know, so like planning that, and that too was like an outer body of experience, just like being there, sitting there, being there, seeing his friends, you know, his poor mom. We couldn't even like get her out of the facility because it was COVID.
Oh yeah.
So they had to Zoom with her. And like that's just so fucked up, you know. So just so many crazy things, and then
like such gut punches all week. So, yeah.
Did you bring Michael?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
So do you go through, you know, when they hear about grief, there's stages. Like looking back, did you go through like anger, denial,
definitely.
all of it? Like,
yeah, I mean, it was a bizarre time, right? So I'm grieving, and off the bat, I was like, I know I'm going to need to get help, right? I can't I'm not going to be able to process this on my own, but I'm also trying to jump back into doing my career, and we're like pivoting everything, and like there was, you know, pressure and, you know, people relying on me to make decisions and do this and whatever.
I know during COVID, people had to work from home with their kids.
Yeah.
So
I was working from home.
And you have to entertain
Thank God you didn't have to go into the city.
No, thank God.
A week later.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't have been
But even
able
entertaining a 1-year-old and trying to focus when your heart is broken in a million pieces.
Yeah, trying to work and pressure and this and that, and you know, I didn't have the best boss and feel like supported, like, you know, it wasn't like, how are you okay today? Are you good? Like, do you need some time? I just felt like it was like,
I need this now.
I mean, I had support from the people who would normally support me anyway, but overall it was like, okay, well, moving on, you know, like, and I'm like, but I'm not moving on. Like,
my head is in a million places.
It's like been a month, like it's been 2 months, you know. And so come like summertime, I was like fucked up. I mean, obviously I was drinking a lot, you know, and you're like, I was isolated mostly, you know, and like I'm not used to that because working in Manhattan and being an event planner, I'm always around people, always talking to people, always on the go. And at this point, I'm at home pretty much by myself with a 1-year-old sitting at a desk and on the computer, you know. So it was like,
are you numb?
Yeah, I was like numb and angry and, you know, sad and probably mostly angry.
Yeah.
Like, you know, at Mike, you know, at life, like, thanks for leaving me here to fucking be a single mom by myself. Like, I didn't ask for this. No, like, you know, and like, now I have this fucking house that I have to worry about and like, how am I going to pay the mortgage? And like, you know, all those thoughts that like, you're like, I would have had a partner. Like, we're supposed to do this together. So, you know, super angry. I was drinking a lot. I actually remember, like, because, you know, everything was closed. Like, even, like, the hair side, like, you know, hair cutting place. So Michael's hair was, like, super long. And I was drunk one night, and I, like, cut his hair. And, like, the next day, I was like, I need fucking help. Like, I can't, you know. Like, I was like,
go on like this. Yeah.
Like, and so, like, I finally.
So how long before you sought help?
Like 3 months, 4 months.
So you were trying to,
trying to just figure it out on my own, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like that's not bad.
No.
A lot of people would go the other way and just go into this, especially with all these different forces at play, COVID, having a 1-year-old, being isolated. So
I was like, I don't want to feel it, because I just wanted to die. Like, they were just not that I didn't feel like I wanted to kill myself, but like I just was like, if Mike like just came down from heaven and ripped me up with like I was just like, I just want to die. Like, I don't want to do this. It's awful feeling, and that scared the shit out of me.
Like a void.
Yeah.
Like, you know, no will to go on.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't want to do this anymore.
So finally, how did you get the help?
So there's Steffi's Place in Red Bank. It's a bereavement organization, free.
And how'd you find out?
One of my friends told me about it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so they happened to be like on summer break though, like when I reached, like 2 weeks, but when I reached out, but I was like so fucking desperate. I'm like, are you getting my emails? Like, are you gonna get back to me? You know, finally they did, and so I got put into a bereavement group, and then in the interim, but I have to tell you, a lot of companies don't, like, I had resources through work that I didn't like HR didn't tell me about,
that you could have,
that somebody else that had gone through it was like, oh, you know, you can do this, right? I'm like, no, because no one fucking told me.
Like, you could have used therapy services,
right? So like therapy services in the interim until I finally found a therapist for myself.
Wow.
So like someone to talk to until I find someone to actually talk to.
So that was information that was not made available to you.
No, God forbid there was like a packet that they
Right.
gave you, you know, with this information. But I had gone to some service like here, like close by in Neptune. I was against taking anything to help me feel better, but they did prescribe me something, and I think that was a good kickstart to help me kind of get back leveled out. And then finally I got a therapist, and like thank God for him too. He really helped
And
out
was
big
this
time.
like Zoom, or you were able to
We were
do-
on Zoom.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right, 'cause
which I have to tell you, I appreciated it, like that I didn't have to leave the house for that,
Right.
because it just would have been an added stress
Yeah.
to like drive the 25 minutes to
Find
that.
a
Like it just felt
babysitter.
better to
Yeah.
also cry in my own house.
Yeah.
Like because I would say for at least the first maybe 2 months, every session, like I couldn't I cried, you know, like
course.
I couldn't even get like
Yeah.
words out, you know.
without falling apart.
Right.
Yeah.
And so like I appreciated that. And the bereavement group, like the first one that I joined was a group of women and men that had lost their spouse in 2020, right? But I was
Wow.
the youngest one significantly.
And were they meeting in person?
It was all on Zoom.
Okay.
Yeah. And, you know, I was pissed off about that. I'm like, how the fuck are they going to know how I feel? Like,
They're not.
they've been married to their spouse
And they
longer
don't
than
have-
I've even
yeah.
been alive.
And they
in
don't
some
have
cases.
a child, a young
Right.
child, a
You know,
one-year-old,
and like
yeah.
I was feeling bitter. I was just bitter,
Yeah.
you know, but I was feeling bitter about that. And then once like a couple weeks had gone by, and I felt like actually I looked at it was mostly women. I was like, you know what? Because my mom died 2 years before Mike died, you know, so
Wow.
I didn't have that support and love from, like, my mom would have moved in and would have been
Right.
there
Yeah.
helping me, you know, so I looked at these women more like maternal figures, and like I felt
love
like they
that.
kind of like looked at, like they kind of took me under their wing in a
Yeah.
way, even though they were dealing with grief themselves. So like that's how I changed my
That's
thought
beautiful.
process
Yeah.
about it.
They
and
were
I
like
really,
protective.
That
even-
probably helped them
Yeah.
too
Yeah.
in a way.
yeah, you know, and then also like you're not alone, like people's spouses die. And then I joined a young widows group, and that
Oh,
really
good.
like helped
That's
because
awesome.
I mean, I felt bad, like we're really not alone, you know, like there
Yeah.
are people my age, younger, a little bit older, like dealing with grief too, male, female, you know, with kids, with multiple children, you know. So like once that all gets put into perspective, that you are not alone, it is not just about you, like,
Yeah.
and you start banding together, like that I feel like fall time was when I finally started to like see some light
fog
again.
lifted.
Yeah, like see some light again.
Like come back to yourself.
Yeah.
And that's when I met you. I met you August of 2020.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's when you
And
were
that helped too, like,
Yeah.
you know, figuring out, like I took a month off of work in September because like
Yeah, I
that
remember that.
like whole like I just wanted to die, and I was like, I cannot go to work any longer. I just need this time to like get my shit together. And that's like I spent the time really digging deep, like what, like life is short, right? And like these are the goals and the dreams I've always had, and now's the time to do it, you know? So like that helped too, because that was like, okay, I'm gonna fucking grab the bull by the horns here.
You were able to regroup.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And that helped a lot too.
And
so,
thank God you regrouped and you were able to see a light, because I know some people live in that grief space.
Yep.
And I'm so happy that you were able to like pull yourself out of that.
Yeah, like for me, like I had to, you know, and my focus always was that it sucks that Mike's not here, and it sucks that Michael doesn't have his dad, but like I know he's up there, you know. So like I was like, the way I looked at it is like he's like the wind in the sails, you know, and like he like
Yeah.
I can't imagine for one second that he's not going to make sure that like things are going to happen for us that are going to be beneficial to other
yes.
family. Like I'm happy to put in the work. Like if you can help set
Guide
things
me,
up, like
yes.
I'm ready to like hustle and put in the work
Yeah.
and make sure that your son has the best fucking life possible, you know, in spite of that. So
I know you've said that Michael, we'll talk about his dad, right?
I was just gonna say that I love that you are so open with him about Mike and the grieving process,
Yep.
and that he talks about him all the time.
Yeah.
So he doesn't forget him.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it was different when he was young because he was 1 turning 2, so it was a little hard to like explain at that time. But I mean, we've always looked at pictures of him. You know, I would tell stories, and like, you know, Mike is a constant subject every day in the house,
great.
and even, you know, today, like he will always be.
Yeah.
You know, and then like I guess more so like probably really around like 3 more, like I guess he would ask questions a little bit, and then like 3 going into 4, going to daycare, seeing his friends'
with their
dads.
Oh, yeah.
Pick them up from school, you know, hanging out with his friend, like other people. And he just started to, I guess, recognize and understand family dynamic a little bit more.
Yeah.
So he would say, like, I miss my daddy and I wish my daddy was here. And so, you know, at that time, I ended up putting him into play therapy,
That's
you know,
awesome.
because like, you have to. Like, I just want to make
Because there's
sure.
only so much you can say, but I
Yeah.
feel like if somebody else can explain and talk to him, it'll help him.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and he cries. Like, and even, like, to this day, I mean, we talk about Mike every day. I'll tell him stories. We look at pictures. You know, we yell up to heaven. We love you, Daddy. You know, like, you know. But I think now, like, especially the older he's getting, and he's such a dynamic personality. Like, you know, sometimes he just will start. Like, he'll find an excuse to be wincy about. And I'm like, tell me what's really wrong. I just wish my dad was here. And, like, he cries. You know, he's just like, and I think he's grieving the way I did.
Yeah.
Like, it's just delayed because,
Right, 'cause he's
you know,
older now.
Right, because
Yeah.
he's older. So, you know, I'm like, dude, let it out. Like, let it, you got to cry, let it out, and, you know, hug him. I think sometimes he does use it a little bit as, like, you know, as an excuse to get, to you know, when I reprimand him over doing something bad, you know, he's as an excuse too. But overall,
He deserves a little bit of a break.
Slack.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, it's definitely been a journey. You know, 3 years, it's like almost 3.5 years, which is crazy because it like feels like yesterday and a million years ago all at the same time. Like, and sometimes I even think, like, was it even real? Like, was it even real? Like, was he even like, am I imagining it? You know?
Does grief come in like waves? Do you feel like sometimes you're okay? And
for
other
sure.
times you're like, whoa.
There's not a day that has gone by since Mike's died that I haven't thought about him. I probably think about the day he died like a couple times a week because like that
traumatic.
scene, like I definitely
haunted by it.
I was like for like a couple weeks because
I can't imagine that.
it's this person you love. It's like
Just-
his face was purple. It was just he's the body's dead, but it still gasps for air. You know, so it was just like that was playing on loop for a while and. I remember laying in bed one night and I'm like, dude, you have to get this fucking thought out of my head. Like, you have to get this loop out because I can't, I can't live like this. And eventually, like, it subsided, right? So, like, that aspect of it, how he looked, the really gutting part of it, like, I don't think about. I just think about, like, some of the other events of that day and, like, how sad everybody was and, you know, how, like, crazy that day was. And I have to give myself credit sometimes, like, not to sound like an asshole, but like the PTSD, you know, like, or like grace, right? Like of like, holy shit, my spouse died in front of me. Like, I tried to fucking save him, you know, because that was like something too. Like,
and
I felt like a piece of shit that I couldn't save my husband's life too, you know. But like, you know, when you start really thinking about talking more about, like, there's nothing I could have done. No, he was dead. You
the
know,
paramedics
like,
worked on him for 45 minutes. They've done everything. I mean, there was nothing you would have done different.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, the life we live now is in honor of Mike, you know, like, and we hustle and we're going to live the best life that we possibly can. And, you know, I'm still very close with my in-laws. That's never going to change. They are my family. Like,
awesome.
you know, hopefully in a couple of years because
and Michael still knows them, right? Like,
for
that.
sure. That's his family. Those are his cousins, his aunts, his uncles. I hope, like, in a couple of years, because they still have family that lives in Ireland. Like, we could do like a big family, like a Bonner family trip.
God, that's amazing.
Yeah, and you know, maybe like I have Mike's ashes, like maybe bring them there and
that
put
would
his,
be
you
beautiful.
know, like spread his ashes in Ireland or something like that. So you know, it's been crazy, but I cannot stress enough, like, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, like, when you don't feel like there is and you're like, you can't even imagine, like, how the fuck am I going to survive this like, you're gutted, you are literally gutted. It's like someone took your insides and just ripped them the fuck out, you ripped your heart out and stomped on them. Like, and you don't think that there is, you know, reprieve from that. You have to put in the work. You know, you have to, like, get the help you need, join the bereavement groups, find what it is. Like, for me, I feel like I've always been kind of spiritual and you know, like yoga and stuff like that. But, like, for me, I, like, leaned more into, like, meditating. Like, that was a big help for me. And, like, doing yoga, like, soft movements and stretching.
So taking care of yourself.
Yeah,
Did that help?
To take care of yourself.
Which is, right, such an oxymoron. I feel like people grief because they just want to ignore themselves and just bury it.
Yeah.
But I love that you said taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
Helps
and
you.
I like, for like, I love massages, so I joined up for like the monthly massages, like those things and then in those moments when I was doing something that made me feel better, I was like, thank you for this moment, you know, thank you, you know,
Gratitude.
showing gratitude and
Yeah.
like, you got to just keep at it, you know, and then eventually it's all starts feeling better. But like, yeah, there's some days where, you know, I could be driving and I'll think about, or whatever, like just so a thought comes into my head and it's like you're punched in the gut, you know, and you feel that like grief again.
Pain, yeah.
It subsides over time, but you know, I
So
think
I guess-
that's just life.
Yeah.
Forever.
Are there any lessons you would say to anybody who's going through it, or
Accept the help, you know, from friends and family, because I'm sure you have a support system that wants to be there for you. And if you're like me, sometimes it's hard to accept help. It's even harder to ask for help. So get used to that, like asking for help, especially if you have kids. Yeah. It's okay to go out to dinner, like with your friends, and let someone else watch your kids, like just so you can have
enjoy life,
right?
Yeah,
and life.
Because otherwise, I mean, what kind of like thinking about it, thank God you're okay. Because what kind of life would Michael have? He lost his dad. If mom was still depressed, breaks my heart. Like poor Michael. Yeah. Thank God mom is okay.
Yeah.
Like, thank God you're okay because Michael's able to have a great life because of you.
Right.
And,
Yeah, you're amazing, and you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, just how you picked yourself up and powered through is amazing, and you deserve a lot of credit.
And
for
I
sure.
feel like you're living your genuine life. Like you're doing the things that you know will fulfill your soul,
Absolutely.
and then teaching your son to do things that will fulfill him. And I think it's so beautiful.
Thank you.
How you turn grief into like a beautiful life with your son.
Yeah.
And if you want to tell us a little bit about your new special friend.
Yes.
Well, I know it took you a while, right? To even think about.
For sure.
Yeah, but that's, I feel like, a huge, for, you know, someone who lost a spouse to
ever think about
know
dating
that,
again.
that you can love again, right?
Yes, definitely. I mean, there's definitely in the beginning part, you're like, this is it.
Never, no
you
way.
know, I mean, and I was 36 when Mike died. Yeah, 36, you know, so you're still young. Like, you're still young, you know that there's a life ahead of you, but at the same time you're like, man, I can't even picture dating. I can't
Living so
like
close
telling
to
my
us.
story all over. I mean, spouse dying aside, who the heck wants to be back on the playing field?
Yeah, right.
You
I
know,
can
but
imagine,
like, you know, so you think about all those things. But I definitely, like, I knew, one, I couldn't wrap my head around even like going on a date or like talking, like, and so I think it was probably about 1.5 years, maybe almost closer to 2 years before I even went on a date, and it was so fucking awkward. Like, I just it was weird.
Did you not feel like you were ready?
No.
Yeah.
I think it was a good like rip the Band-Aid off
toes in the
situation,
water.
but like you know, it was Bumble, and like I didn't really
and like you said, it's
converse.
awkward anyway.
Yeah, it's
It
like
is,
so awkward.
The stranger. Literally,
Yeah,
you're
the
like,
stranger.
hi,
I
stranger.
didn't really talk to them beforehand. It was like, let's meet for a drink and like whatever. And he's like, yeah, I was divorced and blah blah blah. And I was like, yeah, I'm married. I was married. Like I didn't tell this person I was a widow.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like,
It's like,
you know, and it was just super awkward. And after that like time, I was like, okay, I'm gonna just shelf this for a little while longer. You know?
Tried it.
Yeah,
I'm not ready.
Yeah. And like I would say in the past year, like 2022, like I feel like I really leaned into more like self-work, like self-healing, and like work was amazing. Like just felt like more things were falling into place. And like that's like in the fall time, I was like, all right, let me try this again and, you know, see how things kind of pan out here. And like, yeah, I met Paul, you know, and it's been great. You know,
That's awesome.
he's so thoughtful and caring and nurturing, and you know, about the fact that like Mike's always going to be a part of our lives, you know, and, you know, he'll ask questions, or, you know, he'll like, we were doing stuff around the house and he found like a level, right? And he's like, wow, Mike was a builder, you know, or like we were talking about how sweet Michael is, and like Mike must have been a really good guy, you know, so and like a couple weeks ago he cooked a Sunday dinner for Mike's family, you know. I mean, so, you know, I think it's important to maybe wait until you're feeling healed to like, if you're looking for a relationship, if you need to just get out there and get some, like that's a different story. If you can compartmentalize it.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do that. That wasn't for me, but like some people may. Like everyone's story is different. But I think before you actually want to sit, first know that there is love again. Okay, that can happen.
Yeah.
Like it can happen. You should be open to it. But before you think that you're going to put somebody else, like be thoughtful about where you are mentally before you bring somebody else around.
And I feel like it's energy attracts energy. Imagine if you were trying to attract somebody when you were grieving. What kind of a relationship would you attract?
I look like my relationships earlier in my 20s.
So thankfully you were at a stage where you were much better and more present to be in a relationship, and you attracted a really great partner. I love your partner that you're with now, and it's happy to see you happy.
Yeah, thank you.
It's amazing.
Yeah. and it can happen. And I think, too, like, it's important to be with somebody that's going to be respectful of like
your
what
past,
you've went through,
right? Yeah.
Totally.
and of the spouse you had, and like your heart can expand,
Yeah.
it's okay. You're not pushing one thing aside.
Yeah, it's a different
growing.
kind of love. I'm
And
sure.
what I'm hearing from it, which is cool, I think, for the listeners who go through it, give it time.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's not going to all come together, right? It took years. This is 3 years.
Yep.
Like, it's not.
Took time.
Yeah.
It took a lot of work,
Yeah.
but it's worth it. It's worth the work, for you to feel better, and trust that your loved ones are always up there.
I love the signs.
The more
that
you
said.
think about
You
that.
were even saying with the house. I remember one time you're like,
Yeah,
there's
I
something
love
with
it.
the house, and Mike told, right?
Oh yeah, the fireplace.
Yes.
Yeah, we had like an issue with the fireplace,
But
and I was
he gave
using
you a
it.
sign, right?
I spoke to a medium, and she was like, Mike said stop using the fireplace, and I was like, holy
Ooh, I just got
shit.
chills.
Yeah,
That's so
like
weird.
I mean that, like, who can't make that up,
That's amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's still trying to communicate with you.
Oh,
like,
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, come on, stop. You're not supposed to.
That's so
so
wild. I love that.
I
And
love it.
maybe you can like tag the info for
Yeah.
Steffi's place.
Yeah,
I think that's
definitely.
probably like a huge, like we talked about the postpartum in the group, to just have other people who are going through what you're going through.
Yeah.
That was probably such a huge help for you.
Tremendous. It's a great network. So we'll definitely tag Steffi's place in this, because they are integral. They were a huge
And
part.
I can imagine, because like your family, they don't, I mean, yes, they understand they also lost a loved one, but you are like raw and you have a child. Like, it is so nice. I can imagine to be around people who are like,
Yeah.
I'm going through this too.
Yeah.
You're not alone.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Strength in numbers, kind
Yeah.
of,
Feel validated, feel heard. Yeah.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
thank you for
Well,
sharing
thank
the
you so
story.
much
Of
for
course.
sharing.
I hope it helps, guys.
Yeah, very
Absolutely.
brave, and it's sad, but I'm very happy for you and your future. So
Thank you.
Too.
Thanks, guys.
thank you all for listening.
Yes. Check back next week.
And if you guys have any resources for anybody who is going through grief, definitely give us comments.
Yeah, and like if you want to share your story too,
Yeah.
I'd be happy to go back and forth, or
I know
if you
you-
want to have any questions, additional
Yeah,
questions,
reach
I'm
out to
happy
Sue.
to answer them too.
Yeah, where can they find you again?
Susan sells the short and Jay, or you message on Mom Boss too. Either way,
On Instagram, right? Awesome. And I know that you actually wrote down your story.
I did.
So maybe one day this will be published.
Yeah, I hope
Yeah.
to. I hope to do some speaking opportunities
I
in the
love that.
fall, and it's on my manifestation list right now to like write, whether it's a book or some sort of
Memoir or something.
something,
Yeah. I love
about
that.
the situation, because I just hope it can help somebody else.
And I feel like you will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Good. Well, thank you all for listening.